Guys, back up here once again for another live review. Welcome to my live review for this past Monday's episode of Raw. We're going to take a look at what went down on the April 10th, 2017 edition of Monday Night Raw. So thanks for tuning in to this live review. Before I get into my thoughts on Raw, I want to give you my overall thoughts on the Superstar Shakeup as what went down Monday and Tuesday night. I really wasn't a fan of how they just trotted guys and gals out from SmackDown Live. I mean, I get that they were trying to create a sense of unpredictability, and I kind of like that unpredictability, but then again, at the same time, it just kind of happened. There was really no general managers, Daniel Bryan, Kurt Angle, showing them discussing back and forth, what moves were going to be made. They made some announcements during the show for the lower card guys, but for the main guys, like Dean Ambrose, he would just show up. Miz just showed up. Kevin Owens just showed up. Sami Zayn, same thing. So next year, if we're going to do this, just do the draft. I mean, the draft, what they did this past year, actually, I thought was just kind of a by-the-books draft. There was really nothing exciting or unique about it. So, yeah, my grade for the Superstar Shakeup, how it went down, I just give it a D because it just felt a mess and cluttered and kind of just thrown together at the last minute. And it left me more confused, particularly with what will happen at Payback. And we'll talk about that. But, yeah, so that's my brief thoughts on the Superstar Shakeup. I do think, looking back on who went where, I do think that Raw got more out of this. But seeing as how SmackDown, got less out of the Superstar Shakeup, they did get some good talent. We have seen in the past that SmackDown has been able to make more out of less. So despite having the smaller roster, I trust that SmackDown will be able to they've already done a great job night one of reinvigorating my interest in the United States Championship picture, so kudos to that. And we'll talk about that in my SmackDown review after Raw. But I do think the shakeup provides, it is a good thing. It's good to freshen up your rosters, get some fresh matchups, move things around. I like the idea, but when it played out, it just didn't live up to expectations for me. I would have liked to have seen, like I said, more intermingling between general managers. We didn't even get one iota between Kurt Angle and Daniel Bryan consulting. I thought we'd see Bryan Monday Night on Raw. I thought that's what was going to happen. He was going to show up, and maybe Kurt shows up Tuesday and announces, well, here's the superstars that we've signed. What I would have done is you have Daniel Bryan, Kurt Angle, kick off the show, but and announce that these are the superstars that Daniel Bryan and I have agreed that will be moving to Monday nights. And then you show the graphic on the Titantron. Here's the list of stars. And then throughout the night, you make them, then you can have them make their debuts, whatever segment you choose them to be in. But to just have them randomly show up, I mean, didn't really care for it. But speaking of randomly showing up, that's how Raw kicked off this past Monday. We had the Miz and Maryse make their Raw debuts. They're coming over from SmackDown, which makes sense due to all the animosity and tension that the Miz and Maryse have between themselves and Daniel Bryan. So they showed up. They dressed up as John Cena, Nikki Bella, and they said, the crowd made the crowd chant Cena suck. And they said John says he knows that they made everyone happy when they told the crowd that they were going away to Hollywood. And eventually Dean Ambrose's music would hit. Lunatic Fringe would now be the newest member of the Raw roster, bringing the Intercontinental Championship to him. And they played off the fact that Ambrose thought, the Miz and Maryse were actually John Cena and Nikki Bella. I kind of didn't like this because I'm not really a fan of the goofier side of Dean Ambrose. I like when he's more serious and, to the point. I mean, did they really think that, we believe that Dean Ambrose thought this was the Miz and Maryse? I don't know. I just didn't like the way that it came across. Ambrose ended the segment with the dirty deeds to the Miz. was all right way to open. So now we have the Miz and Maryse and Dean Ambrose on Monday nights. So, and as we saw on SmackDown on Tuesday night, that would lead to another championship changing scene. So the Intercontinental Championship, its new home, is on Monday nights. I'm actually fine with Dean Ambrose being on Raw. I actually think Raw might, I don't know, there's just something about Raw and Dean Ambrose I think that just goes together. Maybe that's just me. And like I said, with The Miz, it does make sense storyline. I would have liked to have seen The Miz stay on SmackDown, don't get me wrong, but storyline-wise, if you were Daniel Bryan, wouldn't you take advantage first opportunity to move The Miz off your show due to all the tension and animosity that has played up between them? So I thought that made sense, but I would have liked to have seen The Miz stick around on SmackDown Live because I thought he's been killing it, and I just don't want to see him unfortunately get lost in the shuffle on Raw, but we'll have to see what happens there. We had a backstage segment setting up a match between Miz and Sami Zayn and what would prove to be Sami Zayn's final match on Raw. And then we had the New Day come down. They brought a blow-up doll, easy for me to say, with dreadlocks due to Kofi Kingston being out with a knee injury storyline-wise. The Revival targeted the knee of Kofi Kingston. And they talked about the fact that if the Revival want to be top guys, they better come to the ring and get this work, which translated into the New Day is going to beat them up, which is not what happened here. We had a second match in what would prove to be the New Day's final match on Raw as they were drafted to SmackDown Live. The bell rang, and the Revival just this was another solid tag team match between the top guys, the Revival, and the New Day. And the right team went over here. You want to put the Revival over strong. They are now 2-0 on the main roster after they knocked off the New Day. After, towards the end of the match, the New Day were going to set up the Midnight Hour, but Dawson was able to push Big E out of the way, and Woods jumped off the top rope for a sick-looking shatter machine. That was really nice. It looked like Xavier almost landed on his head, but thankfully he was okay. And like I said, right move here, especially if the New Day are heading to SmackDown, which they are. And we'll talk about that later in this review. But the Revival go over strong 2-0. So what you do, you build these guys up as they can be one of the best tag teams on Monday nights. So with the way that the tag team division is on Raw, it's really loaded. You got the Hardys. You got Sheamus and Cesaro. You got the Revival. You got Enzo and Cash. You still have Anderson and Gallows. You have a ton of potential and a ton of talent on this tag team roster. And thanks to the Revival and the Hardy Boys being just infusing new life into this tag team division, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun to watch. So, speaking of, we're not going to talk about Kurt Hawkins. He got drafted to Raw. Big Show punched him in the face. Easily the worst part of the show. Move on. But what was interesting was a potential TJ Perkins heel turn. And I think it's something that needed to happen for a while now. And if we're going with it, I think it'll be the best thing for Perkins because he's kind of dropped in relevance. He's kind of become irrelevant. And as it's funny, Neville was saying everything here. He said, well, you were the first Cruiserweight champion, and now you're pretty much a joke, and you've been overlooked for the fact of the likes of guys like Austin Aries and Jack Gallagher and Tozawa and guys like that. And Neville was trying to get inside the head of TJ Perkins ahead of his match against Austin Aries. The match was average. It was all right. But what I liked was what played out after the match. So Neville was standing up on the ring or on the rampway, and that led to the distraction from Austin Aries. He almost got counted out, but he didn't. And then Aries ran back into the ring, and Perkins was able to capitalize with a roll-up and get the 3 count. And he's kind of, gloating about it, kind of being a little bit of a prick about it, but there was nothing too suspicious right here. But after the fact, Perkins, Aries is saying, what the hell happened here? What's going on? And then TJ Perkins comes back in the ring and he attacks Austin Aries from behind, signaling what I think is the transition to a heel turn. This would be great for the Cruiserweight division, and it would be great for TJ Perkins because him as a babyface is bland, boring. It's the typical WWE babyface. Bland, boring, and unrelatable. And the crowd was starting to boo him anyways. So, and they booed him as a result of this beatdown. So there you go. I think Perkins plays the heel, can play the heel. We'll have to see, but I think he can play the heel role better. I think this will suit him. You change his theme and look and what have you, and we'll see where they go with him. And who knows? I mean, it benefited Neville because Neville was really going, nowhere due to their lackluster booking of him. So this might be the best thing for Perkins. And to me, it was definitely a highlight of this show. We then had Seth freaking Rollins come down to the ring. Rollins talked about the aftermath of WrestleMania. This was the first time he spoke to the crowd since his battle with Triple H, and the fact that, it was worth it because he slayed the King of Kings. The King Slayer slayed the King of Kings at WrestleMania. And Rollins said, he has new goals ahead of him. And the next goal was he wanted to get his hands on Samoa Joe. And I think a Samoa Joe-Seth Rollins feud would be fucking great. And it looks like we're going to be getting that. Probably at Payback. It's a match I've been waiting a long time to see. Thought it would take place at Fastlane, but Rollins' injury, of course, kicked that can down the road. But Rollins said, as a result, he also wanted to be Universal Champion, so possibly signaling matches with Brock Lesnar down the line. I'd love to see those two go at it again. I know they can do even better than their match at Battleground 2 years ago. But he talked about the fact that Stephanie McMahon, as a result of his actions, led to Stephanie going through the table, and what type of controversy would surround that if Rollins chose to remain on Raw. He thought about going to SmackDown Live, potentially running away, and, not taking the easy way out is pretty much the way that Rollins said this. And Rollins said he used to be that guy that would take the easy way out, but he wasn't going to do that again. And Rollins said, if Stephanie wants to send him to SmackDown Live, you're going to have to take an army and ship me over to SmackDown Live because Rollins ain't going without a fight. Eventually, this is where Raw General Manager Kurt Angle comes down to the ring and says, Angle, says after watching Rollins at WrestleMania, Angle saw something in Seth Rollins. And, Angle brought up the fact that he won an Olympic gold medal with, of course, what else? A broken freaking neck, and that still was... It was incredible that Kurt Angle was able to do that. Just, wow. Incredible. And Angle says, Stephanie, she's entitled to her opinion, but Kurt Angle, he's the GM of Raw. And as long as Kurt Angle is the GM of Raw, Seth Rollins will remain on Monday nights. And as Angle was talking to Seth, Samoa Joe would come out of nowhere. The Destroyer would arrive and, wreak his path of destruction. He would attempt to lay out, and beat down Seth Rollins, but Seth was able to eventually get to his feet. Angle tried to break him up, and it was kind of cool seeing Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle, all the history that these two have between each other from their battles in TNA. That would be a match I'd like to see revisited down the line if Kurt can get cleared. And Kurt Angle versus Seth Rollins. There's so many potential matches for Kurt Angle in WWE. I think we'll see him in the ring eventually. Something tells me we will. But Rollins was able to get to his feet, and he was able to prevail over the attack that Samoa Joe tried to institute on him. So Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins feud, sign me up. That's something I really want to see. I think it'll help give Joe some direction because he didn't really have a role at WrestleMania, and he has been winning. He has been looking dominant, so that's good. But now that he has his really first official feud, I mean, he had kind of a brief feud with Sami Zayn, but this will be the big feud for Samoa Joe going on to the main Raw, heading into the main roster down the line into the summer. I can't wait. So they're going to go at Payback. That is a must-see match. Eventually, we had, let's see here, we had Kevin Owens talking about, the Superstar Shakeup and, potentially going to SmackDown here. And Charlie Caruso asked Owens how he felt about Dean Ambrose now being on Raw as the Intercontinental Champion. Owens said the U.S. title will always be the number one title on Raw, and if Ambrose gets in Owens' way, similar to Chris Jericho, Owens will take out Ambrose like he did to Y2J. And as we saw on Tuesday night, Kevin Owens, spoiler alert, he is now the newest member of SmackDown Live and brought the United States Championship over to that brand. So Kevin Owens last night on Raw. We'll talk about that later on in the review. We had Charlotte versus Nia Jax. Charlotte here put over Nia Jax strong. I thought it was a decent match. It was definitely sloppy because Nia is still green in the ring. She's improving, but it's going to take her time. There were several botches here, especially that moonsault. It looked like I don't know, Nia Jax almost got, kicked right in the face. I didn't know if she was all right or not, but yeah, it did not look good. I mean, Nia did pick up the win here after, crushing Charlotte with the Samoan leg drop, excuse me, the Samoan drop for the win. So Charlotte putting Nia over strong after we saw what happened Tuesday night on SmackDown. Charlotte is the newest member of SmackDown Live, the women's division, so that is a huge move pickup for SmackDown. We kind of figured that after Charlotte really went on a bit of a losing streak here. So I like the fact that Nia picked up the win here. I do like Nia Jax, but she's still green in the ring. Like I said, there were several botches in this match. It was sloppy. It wasn't the most cleanest of matches, but I think over time, Nia could have benefited from still being on NXT. But due to the draft, she got called up earlier than she should have been. One of the talents that I believe, similar to an Apollo Crews or Dana Brooke, talent like that really could have benefited, from spending a year plus or more in NXT. And then when you're ready, and then when they're ready, you bring them up to the main roster. But we'll see how Nia improves. I mean, they are making her up to be a monster, which is what she should be, but her work in the ring still needs to improve, and hopefully we see that over time. I know she has the background, the Samoan heritage, and what have you, so we'll see where her career progresses in the weeks and months to come. After this, we had Finn Balor versus Jinder Mahal. And if you haven't heard, Finn Balor is injured again because of this match against Jinder Mahal. He suffered a concussion, and we hope it is only a short-term concussion, because when Finn Balor came off the ropes and Mahal hit him with that stiff forearm shot, I mean, that was uncalled for. That was really unprofessional. You need to protect your opponent in the ring, and just the way that the move went down, it looked like Finn seriously got messed up here. And of course, he did suffer concussion, but I thought he was knocked out. I mean, that was just way, way, way too stiff and just uncalled for. It's unprofessional from Jinder Mahal. So this doesn't sit right with me. I hope Balor's okay. I haven't really heard anything too much of an update since then. Hopefully he'll be all right. But yeah, because it's like he just came back from injury in his first singles match, suffer a concussion like that. It's just like he can't catch a break. But Balor went up to the top rope, hit the coup de grace for the win. After the match, Bray Wyatt came on the Titantron and said Monday Night Raw is his new home for the new face of fear. He said he's still going to torture Randy Orton in the House of Horrors match, which is actually going to take place at the Payback pay-per-view, which doesn't mean that Payback is a co-branded event. It's still a Raw exclusive event, but due to Bray Wyatt being drafted to Raw, this is a little confusing. It's very confusing. That now the WWE title match will take place at Payback, probably due to the fact that Brock Lesnar will not be defending his Universal title there. So we will be getting Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton in the House of Horrors match, in a match that I don't see Bray Wyatt winning, unfortunately. But on the plus side, if Finn Balor will be all right and not concussed, we could potentially be getting a Finn Balor-Bray Wyatt feud. That is something that I've wanted to see for a while now. So hopefully, Finn Balor will be all right. Really hope he is. Also announced for Raw, coming over to Raw, was Apollo Crews, Kalisto, and Heath Slater and Rhino were the newest additions on Monday nights. We then had The Miz versus Sami Zayn. Average standard match here. They played up the fact that when Sami Zayn got the win over The Miz, that it was a huge win for Sami Zayn. And I didn't really think it was that big of a win for Sami Zayn. I mean, it was a nice win for him. He really has been doing a lot more losing than winning. But as Miz tried to go for the skull-crushing finale, Sami Zayn reversed it into a roll-up for the victory. So Sami Zayn gets the win here over The Miz in, like I said, what I thought was an average match, but I've seen these two have much better matches. It wasn't a bad match. It was just, the match was just kind of there. And then we had the segment of the night. As you can see in the title of the video, Braun Strowman destroys. This man destroyed Roman Reigns, and I enjoyed every second of Braun Strowman smashing and destroying the hell out of Reigns, because that's what he did. He annihilated this guy. So the segment starts with Roman Reigns being interviewed by Michael Cole, talking about your thoughts on retiring The Undertaker. Before the interview can even get going, Strowman comes in. He begins beating the holy piss out of Roman Reigns. He picks him up. He slams him into the garage door. He then takes he power slams Reigns through a table, and you thought that was enough. Then he takes a crate and rams it into Roman Reigns' head, and then paramedics arrive, and they're putting Reigns on the board, trying to get him out of there. And then Strowman takes Roman Reigns as he's strapped to the gurney and launches him headfirst over, like the little unloading dock for, the big trucks that they bring into the arena, pushes Reigns off that. He falls down, and then they're loading Reigns again into the ambulance. And you thought that was enough. No, Braun Strowman is one tough sumbitch. He comes back over there, and Reigns is in the ambulance. He starts punching Reigns in the head, and then Strowman gets outside, and I'm thinking, wait, what is Strowman thinking? What the hell is he going to do here? Strowman takes the ambulance, pushes it onto its side. So Braun Strowman literally annihilated and eviscerated Roman Reigns. And this segment was the segment of the night. It was one of the best beatdowns I've seen in a long time. This made Braun Strowman feel like a big deal, as he should be. And if you're going to build him up to face Brock Lesnar potentially at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, that's rumored to happen in June, then if Reigns and Strowman are going to have a match at Payback, Strowman needs to go over big. After losing to Reigns at Fastlane, do not do the match again and then have Reigns just beat him again. It wouldn't serve anybody's best interest. It would really hurt Strowman if you're going to have him be the next contender for Lesnar. You want to build him up. And the way that you build him up in this was phenomenal. It was fantastic. I enjoyed every moment of this segment. And the crowd did too, because they were chanting, "Thank you, Strowman. Nah, 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 nah. Hey. Goodbye." I mean, Braun Strowman is an unstoppable force to be reckoned with, and I look forward to a clash between him and Lesnar. That's a match now that after this, I really want to see. So great segment. We then had 8-man tag team action. I thought it was a fun little 8-man tag match featuring the Hardy Boys, Cesaro and Sheamus, Gallows and Anderson, and the Shining Stars. Just pure craziness at the end of the match when the Hardys, Matt and Jeff, hit Poetry in Motion to Anderson and Gallows and the Shining Stars, who were laid out on the outside. That was a really sick spot. And Matt was able to hit the Twist of Fate on Epico. Jeff goes up for the Swanton for the win. Fun, quick match here featuring the tag teams on Monday Night Raw. So we also have the announcement that it's going to be Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys, defending their titles against Cesaro and Sheamus. That match made official for the Payback show. And also made official for the Payback show is going to be Neville versus Austin Aries for the Cruiserweight Championship. And then we had the segment which was supposed to feature Raw Women's Champion Bayley coming down to the ring, but Sasha Banks came out before Bayley, so I thought that was a little weird. And Sasha talks about the fact that why are you out here first? Well, she says she wants to give it up for the Raw Women's Champion. And Bayley comes down to the ring, and I'm thinking, is this where Sasha Banks is finally going to turn her back on her best friend Bayley? It didn't happen in this segment, but seeing as how Sasha is still a member of the Raw Women's roster, I think that's the match where I hope that's the match you save for SummerSlam. Sasha versus Bayley for the Raw Women's Championship. Save that for SummerSlam, please. Please. Huge match. You save it for a big show like that. Banks congratulated Bayley for winning her match at WrestleMania. And then Banks was going to ask Bayley for a title shot until Alexa Bliss makes her Raw debut. Alexa Bliss comes over from Tuesday nights, and she says she wanted to put all the drama on SmackDown Live behind her. And before she could even get going, Mickie James makes her Raw debut as well. So Mickie James and Alexa Bliss are now on Monday nights. And Nia Jax would eventually make her presence felt. She would attack Mickie James from behind, and Bliss would push Sasha Banks into Nia Jax, who threw her to the outside, and Jax hit the Samoan drop on Bayley. And Jax picked up the women's title and says this is hers. So I like the infusion of Mickie James and Alexa Bliss. I feel it'll be a great addition because the Raw Women's division has kind of felt stale for a while now. It's just been focused on Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte, and Nia. Now with Alexa, Mickie, Bayley, Sasha, Nia, Emma, Dana, that's a really good women's division right there. And I look forward to seeing the feuds and the matches that we can get out of it. And also Summer Rae, she's still part of the women's division. And Paige, technically, but you're not going to see Paige for a while, if ever again. And then Michael Cole gave us an update on Roman Reigns. They said he had broken ribs and various other injuries from that vicious, sickening beatdown from Braun Strowman. And then we had champion versus champion match. United States champion Kevin Owens versus Intercontinental champion Dean Ambrose. On his way out, Kevin Owens put over Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose gets the win here on Kevin Owens after Ambrose hit the Dirty Deeds. After Owens attempted to hit the pop-up powerbomb, Ambrose able to counter out of it. Hits Dirty Deeds. Solid main event. I've seen these two have better matches, but it was a good match between Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens. Nothing too much to complain about here. Afterwards, Chris Jericho comes down to the match and hits Codebreaker on Kevin Owens, so their unfinished business will continue. And that's how Raw went off the air here. Overall, I thought Raw was a good show this week. I enjoyed it. Wasn't as great as last week, but there was a lot on this show that I liked. From the Strowman beatdown to Alexa Bliss and Mickie James debuting to the Revival beating the New Day to Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe. That program heating up. Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt. That's another program I'm really interested in. The Miz, Dean Ambrose coming over. So there was a lot to like about this show. So as you can see, my grade for Raw is a B. And my grade for the Superstar Shakeup is a D. So that is it for this live Monday Night Raw review. Remember to leave your comments down below in the comments section for what you thought of Raw. Remember to click my like and subscribe button for more video content coming soon to this channel. And I will be back up here for my SmackDown Live reviews. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and I will see you guys in my next video.